Hi, or mostly host of Collective Mind, and I'm gonna do a more Q&A type live stream. Partly because, as you can see behind me, I have a whole cube full of nearly finished projects, like knitting projects for Etsy, that for some reason I've been having trouble finishing them. I'm gonna try to just finish all of them all at once. So that is my plan, and I should be able to answer questions and stuff while I do that. So, hi Ellie. Hi Thoyam. Let me know if you ever want me to stop calling you 3M and actually call you by your YouTube username, because I could probably do that if you want. I might forget sometimes, but. Audience participation. And we've had more people coming to live streams lately, but I'm just bracing for that to not happen this time now that I'm trying to do a live stream, but we'll see what happens. Okay. So this one I think I just need to tuck the ends in. Okay. Okay, cool. I've been really productive with stuff since school ended, and I'm really proud of myself. Oh, nice. Working on your finals and stuff. I keep going back and forth between being glad that we're done and like missing it and being sad that it's over. No, I'm completely done with school. Forever, unless I decide to try to get a master's or something someday. Like, I should be getting a diploma in the mail soon. Done. So, I do not have next semester, which is part of why it's feeling a little bit sad. Hi, Ghost. So, in terms of roles, um, the way that we kind of think about it is there are some aspects of the roles that are chosen and like intentional and stuff like that. And there's kind of an in between that can be taught. But then there are components that are just kind of how your brain works for that alter, which I don't really know of ways to intentionally change that component. So um like to use protector as an example. If I decided I wanted to be a protector, but my brain was still going to treat me like a host in the sense that it was going to kick me out of the front whenever something scary was happening, it would be really hard for me to functionally be a protector in that situation. But like if I were already a trauma holder and already going to be experiencing that, but wanted to actively be a protector and try to like switch sooner or whatever to like think of myself as more of a protector and not just a trauma holder, um then there are like some active things that I could do. So like if you're talking about gatekeeping in the sense of doing stuff with memories, like keeping memories separate, it'll depend if other alters even have the ability to do that, like if they have access to that function. But if it's about like gatekeeping areas of the inner world or the front or something like that, then it will be like if the alters who want to be gatekeepers now have access to those areas or are able to kick other alters from the front or, you know, like those types of things. So there's components that are almost more automatic, like alters split with those abilities to do those things and sometimes get them later. Like we've had stuff like that happen, but it wasn't really intentional necessarily. It was just like our brain kind of filled in the gaps when it needed to. Um oh, it was college. Um we just finished a bachelor's degree for college. Hi, Ellipse System. Veronica, hi. Yeah, roles for us kind of, it's almost like we choose from the options that we're like qualified for, that we have enough access for type thing. Yeah, we got a degree in integrated studies, which is like the flexible degree where you combine several different interests basically. And our main focus was on English and psychology, but we also focused earlier on in our college time on audio production. We started out doing audio production and English, and then shifted our focus mostly to English and then to English and psychology. So, yeah. Um, Maybe I haven't talked about that as much as I feel like I have. Or maybe it's been mostly on Patreon. I bet that's why I feel like I've talked about it a lot, because I talk about it a lot in the vlogs on Patreon. Oh, yeah, that would make sense too. So there are people joining for this. I'm glad. I was starting to get worried that people were just joining because it was Genshin and that if I tried to do a Q&A, nobody would come. I'm sorry you're getting more nightmares. Our stress levels can definitely affect nightmares and stuff, so I could see it being that, especially if it's stressing you out. You as in the system broadly, not necessarily specifically you. Oh, that's not better. So, a question about dealing with a therapist who sees you all as aspects of one person. Um, hmm. So, I feel like there are kind of two categories of advice I could give for that. One is if you feel like you have other options for therapy, then maybe if you haven't yet, be very direct about how that's not how you want to talk about the system and say exactly how you want to talk about the system and um make clear that you want them to respect that and you want the therapist to use that same language as you are using about the system. And then if the therapist pushes back against that and isn't going to do that, find a different therapist. But the other side of advice I could give is if you don't really feel like you have that option and you want to stick with the therapist, see if there are other things that you can work on that don't as directly involve talking about system related things. Like, not necessarily suggesting like fully masking with the therapist, but you could go to that point if that made you the most comfortable. But like talking through just general other mental health things or trauma related things or um like just kind of do as much as the therapist seems willing to do and not as much of system specific stuff, because that does make it sound to me like that therapist might not be very well trained on system related things. And I worry a lot about professionals who are not trained in the area they're trying to treat causing harm, because it is very possible to do therapy in such a way that is harmful if the therapist doesn't know what they're doing related to that issue. So, like an example that I've seen come up before with trauma processing specifically is if a therapist isn't actually trained in trauma processing but just thinks, like, how hard could it be? If they don't do it the way that you're actually supposed to do it, it can just end up being triggering and even re traumatizing instead of processing anything. Because a huge part of trauma processing isn't actually talking about trauma, it's getting to a point where you feel relatively safe with your therapist, building up a bunch of coping skills, And then the second it gets too overwhelming, if you start talking about trauma, the second it gets too overwhelming, you back up into those existing coping skills and stay there as long as you need to until you feel safe again. So, like, if a therapist doesn't know that and is just pressuring you to, like, trauma dump to them for an hour every week, that doesn't do anything except, like, it's either neutral or negative. If you don't feel like safe with the therapist, or you're trying to do it too fast, or you don't have coping skills to deal with how hard it is to talk about that stuff, then it has a lot of potential to be harmful. So, like, yeah, I just worry about that kind of thing. Cause it's like if I went to a normal, like, physical health doctor and they told me they weren't qualified to treat me for the problem that I have, but that they wanted to treat me anyway, you know? Like, if they were like, I don't know anything about, like, this isn't my specialty. I know basically nothing about this illness that you have, but can I treat you anyway? No. Oh, you definitely weren't late at all, Veronica. You got here, like, within a few minutes of me starting. I have barely done anything yet. Hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so in that case, Jinx, I would lean toward my second piece of advice, which is to talk about whichever things that therapist feels knowledgeable about, you know, and see how much that can be helpful in the meantime while you wait to have more say over your own therapy. So, a good therapist is going to respect boundaries, period, with, like, very, very, very few exceptions, and those are going to be safety related or like legal issues or something like that. So, if you go into therapy and the therapist is like, I think we should talk about your trauma today, and you say, no, I can't handle that today, and the therapist tries to push you to do it anyway, that's bad. Like, our therapist will fully talk to us about entirely lighthearted things if that's what we need that day. We've talked to our therapist about Harry Potter. So, and a lot of those conversations actually end up being productive. We'll end up getting around to something therapeutically beneficial. But even if we don't, it's working on building that trust. And if he were to push us to talk about heavier things when we can't handle that day, that would not help with trust. So that'd be a big thing. Um, a good therapist will listen to you. I know that seems pretty basic, but they will listen to what you actually say and not translate it to, like, a more common version of that experience or something. They're going to listen to what you actually say about your specific experience and discuss that with you. Um, they will have actual training and experience in whatever they say they specialize in, and they will not try to treat you for something they don't specialize in. They will refer you to somebody else instead. Um, a good therapist will also not consistently forget everything you've ever told them. You shouldn't have to go through like a whole intake every week with your therapist, you know? Um that's why a lot of good therapists take notes. Even if they don't do it during session, a lot of them will take notes like right after the session so that they don't forget. And if they're occasionally forgetting little things, like you haven't brought up a specific person in your life for 6 months or something, and you bring them up by name again, they might clarify, can you remind me who that person is to you? You can be like, that's my sister's cousin. That'd be your cousin too. That's my cousin, you know? Um, but generally speaking, you shouldn't need to remind your therapist of every aspect of your life and your treatment and your disorders and everything every week. Um, oh gosh. So, Ghost, that seems like a big red flag to me. Because, like I said, that's a very key aspect of the research on trauma processing is that forcing it is only harmful. Like, forcing it can't help. Because if you're being forced into trying to process it, you almost definitionally aren't feeling safe and in control and everything, and feeling as safe as possible while you're talking about those things and in control of the whole process is essential to make it not just terrifying, you know? That's not processing anything. That's just being like that's just reliving it. That's just being forced into flashbacks, you know? That's that's not doing anything helpful. Cuz like your brain can't refile it as no longer currently hurting me if it's just still terrifying in the moment, you know? The whole point is to like slowly work up to being able to talk about it while still being present and feeling as safe as possible so that you can file it away as a normal memory and not as this is probably still happening right now, isn't it? You know? Ellie, that's awesome. I'm glad your therapist is open to talk about all kinds of stuff like that. Mm. Yeah, that's a good point too, Ellie. Is there's like broadly speaking two types of reactions that you can have to being forced to talk about trauma stuff. And one of them is what I was talking about of it just being overwhelming and not accomplishing anything helpful and just putting you into a flashback. But the other is just kind of dissociating, and that's also not processing it. It's just less distressing. So that's the more like neutral kind of option, but it's still not getting you anywhere. So even if you're able to dissociate from it and have it be less stressful, and your brain kind of protecting you from fully reliving it in the moment, you're still not processing anything. You're like watching the trauma memory go past over there, you know? Yeah, therapy is hard. Okay, good. I'm glad the advice is helpful. Um, we have a video about like therapist red flags that Jaden made a while ago. Um, that you could also watch if it's helpful at all. Okay, let's see if I missed any. I did. There's at least one in the middle. Okay. Why am I trying to do this left-handed? I'm not left-handed. Um. Oh, good. I'm glad it's helping with your denial. Time as fluid or changeable. I don't know. Um, it's not really coming to mind, if that makes sense. Any other spots on this side? No, but there's more on this side. Okay. But yeah, I don't know that I actually said hi to you officially either. Hi, Argo. um, I'm wondering if Anna's gonna switch with me at some point. Because I'm listening to music that she's been wanting to listen to for a while. Okay, where's that one I just did? Well, here's a different one. I could do this first. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. Hmm. A high support. Support. I don't know how to say her username. um. Oh, I missed several messages. Okay, hold on. Yeah, that really sucks that you can't change therapists. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, we dealt with that for a long time too because we had family who knew about other mental health stuff, but not trauma related stuff. And so we couldn't really ask for a trauma specialist either unless we were willing to tell them that. Um, Advice to stop fronting when you're front stuck. If you know why you're front stuck and it's something that you can change, I would start there. Like if you know it's stress related and there are things that often help you calm down, or if you're being triggered and there's a way for you to get away from the trigger, or things like that. Other than that, if you can try to do things that you know other alters like to try to pull them close and see if they can switch. Um, if you have gatekeepers who can help with that and you're able to communicate with them, stuff like that. Um, Otherwise, just wait it out, unfortunately. I don't know that I have a lot more advice than that. Um, Now have I gotten all done? I think so. Okay. Hey Logan. Um okay, gatekeeper is, well, it's used for a couple different things depending on the system and the context. The main ways that we use the term are alters who can control memories in some way. So, like, who can file memories or take memories back from alters who shouldn't have them, or things like that, who, like, maintain amnesia in some way. Um, or alters who, like, guard areas of the inner world type thing, like physically gatekeeping. Um, that type of thing. Oh, does it seem like dissociation causes time to speed or slow? Absolutely. Or even events to move around in order. I feel like I noticed that more after the fact. Like my memory of a time when I was dissociating will be really unclear and hard to figure out which order stuff happened and things like that. Um, yeah, I'm sorry your front stuck. That sucks. Yeah, we have um a video on types of altars and altar roles, and also a video introducing our gatekeeping subsystem. Um, and like the one with roles defines the term how we use it for the most part, but it's pretty close to what I just said. But just in case I forgot anything. And then the video introducing that subsystem of gatekeepers for us, one of our gatekeepers also talked about the things that they do for the most part, so. Oh, cool. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know why I've never thought of that before, of a gatekeeper being like a door or a literal gate or a wall or something like that. But that makes a lot of sense. I gotta decide where I'm putting the finished ones now. I guess I could put them over there in this one, but they won't all fit there. If I move some stuff around, maybe I could get them right here so that I can like display it decently. Will this fit there while it's off? Yeah. So that one's done. Now, this one, I think I have to keep the markers in this one because I don't think I have, yeah, to make the measuring easier. I need to keep the markers in this one. Yeah. That can be hard if learning about new terms and stuff like that ends up causing those to exist in your system. It can be helpful if they already exist and just don't know how to describe themselves. At least that can be helpful for us. It helps us to have words for things that we experience. I think it's validating. You know? Thank you. I'm trying to finish up some of the projects that I had almost done and then got overwhelmed with finishing them for some reason. Oh gosh. When you say coming out, do you mean like as a system or as like a either gender or sexual orientation or a combination or what? Because I think my advice, some of it might be the same for each, but some of it might vary. Yeah, we have a crate full of stuffed animals in the background. We had have a lot of fun arranging them in there. While ago now. I have to turn all the way around to do that. That's a little annoying. as a system. Okay, I'll get back to that in a second. Um, Ghost, you're at a live stream. In terms of where you physically are outside of that, I can't really help you with that, but you're a part of a system. Um, so that will be why your body doesn't look right. It sucks, but it's okay, I guess. I'm not very good at this. Um, if you can hear voices of anyone who might be trying to help you and answer some of those questions, then that will hopefully help. Or if you can find like any notes around anywhere that someone might have left for you, that could also help. So, coming out to family as a system, um, I think it's helpful to start the conversation with asking if they're familiar with the concept. For two reasons. It gives you a starting point to see how much information you might need to fill in or correct if it's from like misinformation from movies and stuff like that. But it can also help you know any like big red flags that you might have for the conversation going forward before technically committing to the conversation. Because if the response is really bad to the idea before you have told them that you yourself are a system, then you can still say, yeah, I've been learning about it online, or I saw someone on YouTube talking about it, or I have a friend on Discord who's a system, or something. Like, you can cover it up and back out last minute if you need to. But beyond that, I think give them time to get used to the idea. If they don't, like if they seem overwhelmed at first. Hi, Primal Pack. That happened with some of our family. They were overwhelmed at first, and it took them some time to get used to the idea and comfortable talking to us about it more often. Yeah. If there's any boundaries that you want to set right away at the beginning too about how public or private that information is, I think that's also helpful to do right away if you trust them to respect the boundary. So, like, a lot of our family knows our abuser, and we told them from the start that that person could not know about this. So, and we also established from the beginning with family, especially at first, that we weren't ready to talk to them about our trauma yet. And that has changed somewhat since then, but we didn't want to have to deal with that immediately. And I had too recently learned about the system too, and there was too much that I didn't know about yet. And because I'm always at least co-conscious, I would be watching them have a conversation about trauma that I didn't know about, so that would have been hard. Okay, yeah, so that's already a good starting point. I also think, like watching YouTube videos about it with them can be helpful. We've done that with some of our family. We've also done stuff of just like sending them links, especially now that we have our own channel. We send them a lot of those links. But yeah. It's a process. Yeah, for sure. Definitely get that it's a sensitive topic. Um, 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 co-conscious is when you are not fronting, but you are still close enough to the front to know what's going on and potentially have some influence and or communication with the person fronting. So like in our case, the fronting area for the most part of our system is a car in our inner world, and there can be more than one person in the car at a time. And those people are usually either co-fronting or co-conscious. And we use co-fronting generally for if it's like a blurry mix of people fronting who have semi-equal control over the front overall, and co-conscious is more so when someone is like mostly in control of everything and other people are like small percentage or just watching, that kind of thing. um in terms of how to find a name, we will usually look up like names that mean certain things that would have significance to us, or um like fantasy sounding names or like elf names type thing. But there are a lot of like name generators and stuff like that online, as well as like baby name type websites that will a lot of times give you meanings for the name, which helps us a lot. I spent a ridiculous amount of time just then doing just that spot. It might actually be just this last one. That's nice. No, no, that's probably fine. Whoa, okay. Um, oh, um, yeah, we very often have people co-conscious to some extent too. Um, and as far as jumping back if there's an emergency, that sounds like a trigger. And that is very common for switches and stuff to happen very quickly when triggered. Oh, that's a cool way to describe it, Argo. Yeah, a lot of us form with names too, but some of us don't. Um, I'm not sure why, but some of us don't. Or the other common thing is some of us will form with names and then grow to hate those names for some reason. Like if they were derogative in some way or just too associated with trauma or something. No worries, Ellie. Um, yeah, caught up. Cool. um, okay. So that should mean this one's done now. It's a big scarf. I know there's still markers in it. That's on purpose. So that I can measure the marker sections later instead of having to measure the whole thing when I actually put it up on Etsy. Okay. Um yes, there are both positive and negative triggers. Um we have a whole video on types of triggers, but generally, yeah, there are definitely positive and negative. Um First time I've had to catch up on the chat. Maybe. I know I definitely have times where I get distracted by whatever else I'm doing and then glance over and realize I missed several messages. Especially if I'm dissociating or playing a game or something. Um, oh, I need to grab another thing to work on. Okay. I think this is another example of just needing to do the ends. I'm glad you like the community. We like it too, and we're hoping it's gonna grow more. Especially now that we have time to do more videos and live streams and Patreon and stuff. I'm glad all of you guys like the community. That makes me really happy. Hmm. Nice, good job, 3M. Oh gosh. Yeah. We finished our last assignment really late, right before it was due, too. It was a paper that was due at like 8 a.m. and we finished it at like 2 or 3 a.m., I think. Yeah, we just finished school completely. Like, we finished our whole degree. Um, so that has been exciting and overwhelming and stuff. Bye, Argo. Thanks for hanging out. Oh yeah, I agree, Logan. I don't want more people to be hurt, but I want people who like are already hurt or would otherwise benefit from the community in some way to find it, you know? I want the people who could be helped by it to find it. Including people who just find it interesting or have friends or family or systems or whatever. Thank you. It's been exciting, but it's also been overwhelming and kind of sad for it to be over. There's some relief too, though, because it's been really hard to stay on top of it at all. Um, I am excited to start the DID in the media series, though, where we're gonna like react to movies and TV shows and stuff that have DID characters. Might even film the first one tonight if I still feel up to it. We'll see. Yeah. I'm excited for the series too. Mm. Yeah, Split will be one of the early ones. Moon Knight might take a little longer because we just watched it in our free time, and I don't want to do it for the series if I'm like sick of it, like if it's been too soon, because I know my reaction won't be as good. I'll just look bored the whole time, you know? So ones that I recommend is going to be complicated. Um I don't know that there's any that I have seen so far that I would recommend like every aspect of it, you know? There are some that get some things right and not others. Um but there's also some of it that's arguably a little bit nitpicky. Like even content that other systems make on YouTube and stuff like that. I think every single time so far there's been at least one thing that they say that like rubs me the wrong way, or I'm like, I don't know that I would have worded it exactly like that, or I'm not sure I would have said that as an absolute statement or whatever. Um but there are some that are obviously a lot closer than others, and generally speaking, I think the community speaking for itself tends to be more accurate than any especially big Hollywood production version of it. Whether it's speaking for themselves on YouTube or TikTok or podcasts or books or whatever. And then it starts getting less accurate as the community itself has less control over it. So even like interviews and stuff like that, if it was edited and like the questions were picked and stuff like that by someone who isn't a part of the community, it feels a little less, at least potentially a little less accurate to me, because there can be a lot of cherry picking and stuff like that that can make it seem like someone said something that they didn't say. So yeah, it depends. Um yeah, we actually haven't seen Glass yet, so that's one of the things that'll be nice about when we get to that. We've seen Split, but not very recently. And the only reason I'm not doing that one first is because I feel like that's going to be a very popular episode of the series. And so when I do it, I want there to be at least a couple other episodes in the series that already exist, so that if a lot of new people come to the channel for that series, they have other things they can watch right away, you know? Which was Primal Pack's idea, and it was really smart, and so I'm doing it. um, yeah. Is that enough? Probably. Okay, and now I'm gonna move this actually. In order to do this, I'm making progress, you guys. Yeah, I'm trying to think of things like that so that I'm not like, I don't know that I want to say wasting opportunities, but that I'm like making the most out of opportunities like that. Um, because while we already have some reaction type videos, um, the most popular ones that we have by a lot are Sander sides. And I don't know that there's necessarily a ton of overlap in the people who would come to watch the episode on Split and the people who would want to watch Sander sides. And a lot of the ones who would want to watch Sander sides might have already found the channel because we've made a bunch of Sander sides reactions. So I don't know. I have heard that Glass does a better job for representation because it does a better job of pointing out that some of it is meant to be fiction. Like, it does a better job distinguishing that. But I haven't seen it, so that will be one of the reactions. That's also one of the things that's gonna be nice for Patreon is we're gonna have like full commentary style reactions for DID in the media on Patreon, and then shorter like summary type things will be what goes up on the channel. So if people want to see our reaction to the whole thing, they can come to Patreon for it. Because we can't obviously show whole episodes and movies and stuff like that on our screen on a YouTube video. And we're not going to on Patreon either, but we'll like say timestamps and stuff so that you can watch it with us and hear our commentary. Oh yeah, I'm sure there's some overlap, but like a lot of people who come for the episode on Split are gonna want to see episodes on other movies and TV shows and like the stuff that has a horror element or like a crime element or that type of thing. Um and that's also part of why I'm starting with some of the ones that are like one or two episodes or movies or whatever for that category instead of the ones that are like whole TV shows, because then I have a bigger variety of things related that can get people's interest before I commit for a while to going through an entire show. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember what tier you are, but it's the protector level tier is the one that's going to have the extended cut commentaries for DID in the media. Mm-hmm. I think I need to switch, but I don't know. I don't know who with. Oh, no worries. I'll have a lot of thoughts when I'm actually watching it that I wouldn't even really be able to say in advance because there's going to be little details of things like specific moments of what they said or did, little tiny details of the acting, like I really like these 7 things about how the actor portrayed that switch or whatever. Or I liked these ones, but I thought these ones seemed over dramatic, but it could be how it happens, but it feels less like the average representation type thing, or it feels a little dramatized or whatever. I don't know. It's also going to be interesting, especially for the ones that we watch that we haven't seen before, to see how triggered we get by some of them. Which is why we're not probably ever going to do any reactions live, because it just seems too easy to end up getting triggered live then. And if it's a recording, at least we can cut it out if we want to. Oh, I just realized who I might be unintentionally pulling with this music. Maybe I should do something else. I don't know. I don't even know if they would be able to switch. I didn't grab the next thing. This one's too hard for right now. I'm not doing this one right now. That back. Okay, I'll try to do the scarf. Hey, Kevin. It's funny you should ask what our switches are like. We have a switching compilation that's gonna go up tomorrow afternoon to celebrate reaching our subscriber goal of 400 subscribers, which, as you can see, we have a new goal up on the screen now for 500. We have, like, switches will look different for us depending on the context. Slower switches, we usually do a lot of blinking. Sometimes faster switches, though, will be pretty invisible. Or we might react like we're in pain because switching can hurt. Or just have a pretty sudden change in voice or emotional state or whatever. There are a couple switches in the compilation where like we had triggered switches on live streams because we were listening to music and Shuffle Play brought up a trigger song. And or like listening to a station on Pandora did. And there were a couple that were so fast that like one alter would be in the middle of saying something on the live stream and would get cut off by the switch. Oh, bye, Kevin. Oh, cool. I'm glad you like the switching compilations. they're a fair amount of work, so if nobody liked them, I'd probably stop making them. But they're also kind of helpful, honestly, for me to see. Um, just like for me to, how do I explain that? um, like there can be stuff that I notice watching it back that I don't notice in the moment because I'm dissociating or whatever else. That can be helpful to see. Um, like I don't usually get to externally see what it looks like when we switch, so watching back a video is the closest I can get to that. Um, yeah, I think music triggers are pretty common. Um, because there's generally just like, for positive triggers especially, there's the idea that like having a specific taste in music is very common for people generally and also for alters. But also for positive or negative triggers, music can be really good at capturing certain feelings or experiences really viscerally. So it can I just realized this song's pulling Jaden. I should stop. I had no idea that song pulled Jaden. Oh, I know why it did now. Uh, what was I saying? Music. I was talking about music triggers and then okay, anyway. I need to stop listening to this playlist, I think. Um what am I doing? Uh yeah, I'm definitely dissociating some. Um but I'm okay, I think. Is there one in the middle or just the other one on the end? I think it's just this. Cool. Music. Oh, songs can also be associated with trauma more directly or other experiences more directly if that music like played while something happened, you know? Like the same way songs can be associated with specific relationships, um, or certain like times of your life. You heard that song a lot when you were a teenager or whatever. Um, but because music is like in the background for a lot of different types of situations, there can be like negative trauma triggers with music can be because the song literally played while the trauma happened, you know? The song or the artist or whatever. Um, I think that was the only other thing I had wanted to say. What should I listen to? Maybe I'll try this, but it'll pull completely different people than are currently here, but that's fine. I might have to watch that too much though if I'm gonna. No, I'm gonna do something else. Just pick something, it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters a little. I shouldn't play like someone else's specific Hannah song. uh, can I skip it? Okay. That's another Anna song. Back. I don't want to listen to that. Mm. Mm. Sure. Oh. Mm. Am I warm? Maybe I'm wearing too many blankets. I'll take off a blanket. Mm. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I say that stuff doesn't matter when I'm having decision paralysis. Because, like, the decision between the stations I was deciding between didn't really matter. But there are music options that would matter a lot. Like, I shouldn't play Jaden's radio station right now for no reason. Um, or like I shouldn't play anyone's playlists of specific triggers. Um, mm, okay, I think that's that one done. I don't know if I can keep going. I've been live for an hour and a half. I did not know that. Uh, um, I don't want to listen to any of these. What am I? Okay. Why do I not want to listen to any of this? I don't feel like I'm the one not enjoying the songs. Is it Anna? Do you just want to listen to your station? Yeah, we have a couple stations like that have songs that too many different alters like. Um, oh yeah, that's right. I was thinking about stopping streaming anyway, so it doesn't matter for music. Oh my gosh. I might be crashing a little bit, and I might need to eat again, and I want to try to film DID in the media tonight anyway. And I'm starting to overheat and stuff. So I think I am probably gonna wrap it up here. And um I'm also at the point where the stuff that's left to finish is a little bit more complicated and might be too hard for me to do while trying to also read the chat and stuff. And I'm running out of energy to finish projects anyway, so this might be a good stopping point for that as well. So yeah, thank you guys for hanging out and asking questions and stuff. Q&A streams are a lot more fun when people actually join and ask questions, so it's fun. And we'll probably do another one soon. Probably at least one more gaming one first, though. Um, and then we're gonna have a little stretch coming up for like 5 days ish where we won't do any live streams, I'm pretty sure, because we're not gonna be here. And the like stuff that we use for filming and live streams and stuff for the most part is here. So we might find a way to film a vloggy type thing. And we will try to have a video ready ahead of time to go up during that time. But yeah. So yeah, thank you for hanging out. And I'm gonna do the end screen thing because I don't have a working brain at the moment. That one's up here. Okay. Bye.